Hello there. Welcome along to another mixed martial arts conversation for Sky Sports. Very pleased to say we can catch up again with Brendan Loughnane, who last time we spoke to him was entering the 2021 featherweight PFL season. Now you're in the semi-finals after 2 victories, Brendan. Good to see you. How's life?
Oh, mate, it sounds so good to hear that since I last spoke to you.
I know it's only a couple of months as well. What's it been like? The intensity? I know, the regularity of it. You've been in pretty much camp the whole time.
Yeah, I've been in camp all year, really. It's been really tough. I mean, I'm not used to doing this. I'm used to fighting maybe 2-3 times a year, having a few months off in between, building skills for the next fight. This one's sort of like, oh, you're back in. Oh, you're back in. So, yeah, it's been different. It's been different, to say the least.
How does it work from a fitness perspective then? Because in a traditional camp, you'd have 10, 12 weeks where you build up to peak fitness and taper it down just before the fight. Are you staying at a certain level all the way through, or do you come down after a fight and work your way back up? How does it work?
To be honest, I'm still figuring it out. This is something that's very new to me. And it's like, you finish the fight, you've got 6 weeks to your next one, and you're like, do I go crazy? Do I keep sparring? Do I keep the fitness up? Do I rest a bit? So yeah, I found it quite difficult, to be honest, in between fights, because just not knowing what to do. After Sheymon, I fought on Saturday and I was back in the gym Monday morning, back doing my sprints and sparring. And by the time the Tyler Diamond fight came around, I was knackered. So I took 2 weeks off after Diamond. I just didn't do anything, didn't even go to the gym for 2 weeks. And it's really helped now. I've been in the gym for the last 4 or 5 weeks now, and we've got another 5 weeks of the fight, and I'm all cylinders again.
Yeah, you feel refreshed, do you? Because I guess that's the danger, isn't it? Because fighters tend to be fully focused, but this setup could almost, lead to burnout before you get to that semi.
Well, I've never fought this regular before, and yeah, like being in the gym Monday morning and back doing sprints is just very abnormal for me. But you just kind of don't know how to approach it because the fights are so close together. So and you're carrying little niggles from each fight, and it's difficult, and you don't give $1 million away easy nowadays.
They don't. That goal is there as well. You mentioned the Sheymon Moraes fight, wonderful knockout. Then that war with Tyler Diamond. I don't know if it was just me, but it seemed to resonate more around social media. It seems like the PFL is really making kind of headlines and sort of registering on people's radar. How do you reflect on those in terms of your performances? Is it different? Is it just a W? Can you look to evolve and develop as a fighter in this format?
Well, yeah, Sheymon was one of the best performances of my career. I was very on that night. I was on point. I had a great camp. And then Tyler was a bit all over the place just because I couldn't have my coach out, who's been in every corner since I was 16. He couldn't make it due to the coronavirus and, staying at home and the quarantine. He literally did 17 days in the bubble. Then he landed in the UK, had to do a further 10 days. So he did 27 days in quarantine, and then he landed. And then he had to be back out. He had to leave again in a week. So he's like, I just can't do it. I've got family and kids. And so, I had to go that one alone. So that was difficult. And then I was all over the place with the camp a bit. And then I just went back to old Brendan in that fight. I just had a fight. I didn't stick to no game plan. I didn't, there was times I should have been pulling back. I was already through in the tournament. I didn't need to perform like that. I didn't need to finish Tyler Diamond. But in my head, I really wanted to, and I was overcommitting to stuff, but it was a fan-friendly fight. And the first one I shown my skills, and the second one I showed my heart. So, I've kind of showed everything in the tournament so far.
Yeah, you certainly have. You mentioned your trainer being away, or your coach being away for that one. How has it been? Because how long since you've been back in Manchester? I know on social media you said you've had a few phone calls and people have been out drinking in the hot weather. But what's it been like? It must have been a long time since you've been home. How difficult is that?
Yeah, September 2020 is the last time I was in Manchester, last time I see my family. Been really difficult. I mean, PFL told us that we have to stay we definitely had to stay for the regular season, and we could have gone home for the semi-finals, but who knows what had happened with borders and lock. And so I just didn't want to risk it at this stage. I've moved my camp to Vegas this time, so I'm going to be in Vegas for the next 5 weeks. So yeah, I'm like an MMA nomad, just flying around the States and fighting people. And yeah, so luckily my coach is going to be out here for this one. It's in Miami with a main event. Got a very tough fight in Movlid, and yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, Movlid Khaybulaev. What do you make of him then? He's technically undefeated on his record. We know he had the stoppage loss against Daniel Pineda, didn't he? But is he Is he someone that has a psychology of an unbeaten fighter? Do you expect him to have that?
Well, I think Movlid's the most well-rounded guy in my weight division. He can do everything well. He's from that Dagestani heritage. He was trained by Khabib's father, same as, you know, he's Khabib's training partner. So, you know, he's got a good pedigree. But you just alluded to it there. He's been stopped before, and if you've been stopped, I will stop you. Yeah, that's the plan, really. I mean, he's shown holes in his striking, and all I've been doing is wrestling all day, every day. I've got the #1 wrestler in the US right now. He just won the Nationals. He's been wrestling me every morning. I've got some great wrestlers around me. I'm surrounding myself with wrestlers because let's be honest about it. These guys aren't going to stand on the feet. They're going to shoot for the legs. They all say the strikers until they get hit, and then it all changes.
Is that what you expect? Because he's got a variety of wins on his CV, but you expect with you, he's going to go directly for the takedown.
I mean, he's going to take it where he's most comfortable and where he's got the best chance in the fight, and that would be to take me down. But again, that's probably been taken down 3 times, 4 times in my whole career. So that's no easy thing to do either for Movlid. So it's going to make for a very, very interesting fight.
How do you approach it for the wrestling side of it? You say you're doing that every day. Obviously, you would see striking as your strong point. When you go into the fight, though, do you start to develop your wrestling to a point where it becomes a weapon? How do you see that balance? Or is it a defensive measure?
I mean, you know, everyone looks over my wrestling and overlooks it. But, I mean, if we look at Tyler Diamond, he's a Division 1 wrestler too. And I took him down twice. And, you know, I got more takedowns than him in the fight. And everyone seems to overlook this English wrestling, and we hold this thing on our backs that we can't wrestle. And even when I come to different gyms in the US over here and they see me wrestling, they're like, wow, we didn't expect this, you know, from a UK guy. So I think Leon Edwards is showing that as well now, and all these other great British fighters are showing, listen, we can wrestle with you, and they don't like it. Trust me, they don't like it.
Do you think we should have it in English schools, though? Because it's interesting, the Americans don't expect it, do they? Because we don't have it in the school system here, whereas in the States they do.
Yes, huge over here. It is absolutely huge. I mean, high school, it's a big thing. Then once you get to college, you get paid to go there. It's massive sponsors, thousands of fans watching. Mate, wrestling in England, you struggle to find a place. And when you do go, you might get 3 or 4 people in there. It's just so different. So that's why, another reason I stayed in America, really. Because, again, after Movlid, we're looking at Bubba Jenkins, another wrestler. So realistically, that's what we've got to work on for the next 2 fights. So that's what I've been doing. So
you're picking Bubba Jenkins over Chris Wade, are you, in the other side of it?
No, you know what? I might have jumped the gun a bit there. Chris Wade impressed me in his last fight, and who knows what would happen in that fight. I mean, Chris Wade's got a wealth of experience. He's been in the UFC, and you can't count him out. So who knows?
Yeah, he was calling you out. What does that say about your status? He wants to fight you in the final. Does that show you how far your star's risen in the past couple of months?
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, I don't know why you're calling me out, mate. You shouldn't even be in the semi-final. You lost your first fight. In my eyes and in everyone's eyes, he lost on points. So he's lucky to be in the semi-final. So I said, calm down calling me out, mate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. But you've got those possible opponents in the final. But you have got this matchup against the Russian coming up. How do you see the $1 million? Because obviously it's a life-changing amount. Do you use it as a galvanizing focus? Is it a distraction? Is it about the process? Because you've still got 2 fights to go. How do you look at the money and the prize money?
As mad as it sounds, I'm not even looking at the money. To be a world champion's my goal, really. I mean, money comes and goes in your life, and it always will do. But that piece of gold, I've worked 13 years of hard work to get to anywhere near this. And I seen some odds the other day. I was plus 7,000 or 70 to 1 to win this tournament in the beginning. Oof. And yeah, I know nobody gave me a chance. And to be at this stage now against the toughest guy in the tournament, after having the 2 toughest fights, let me add, because I was the only guy in the second fight to fight anybody that won the first fight. So I fought a guy that was on a 9-fight win streak. His only loss was to a top 5 UFC guys, and then you got Sheymon. So I had 2 really tough regular season fights, and now you're giving me Movlid, who's 17-0 on paper. So like I said in previous interviews, I want to get all the way through it and beat all the best guys at each stage, which I have done so far. I've done it in impressive fashion, and I deserve it. I deserve this belt, and the money will just be a nice cherry on the top.
I know you're loving life in the PFL. You've spoken about it. It's interesting. I saw you respond to a tweet where someone said that you should be in the UFC. Do you think the fans haven't caught up with the fighters in recognizing that maybe the landscape's changed and it's more diversified, or does the UFC remain the holy land? How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like my whole career is going to be attached to this Contender Series and this decision from Dana White, and it's like I'm on a 7-fight win streak. I've lost. I'm not lost since 2017. I've won 10 out of my last 11 fights. You know, I've got 13 stoppages on my record, and these all speak for themselves. I've fought all over the world in all great organizations, and it's like 21-3 as a pro. So you get to past 20 wins in MMA, mate. You've took your knocks and you've come back. So I think you know, I'm earning a lot of money, mate. I got a lot of money for my last fight, and it would have took me a good few years to earn that in the UFC. And sometimes you got to look at it as you are a prize fighter. You're fighting for prizes. You fight to feed your family. And for years, I overlooked that because I was young and just wanted them 3 letters to my name, the UFC. And now I look at it like, well, I'm 31. I've probably got 3 or 4 years left. How much can I put in the bank to, or, you know, do I have to struggle after fighting? And that's kind of my perspective on it now. And as long as I can be on ESPN, as long as I can still be on Sky Sports, as long as I can get world-class opposition, what more do I want?
Well, they'll let anyone on Sky Sports, mate. I can attest to that. So you're in good company. But it's interesting that, though, isn't it? Because you mentioned the money you're getting paid in the PFL. Is it even status is different now that the UFC champion in whatever division, if it's featherweight or another division, isn't necessarily the best in the world? Is that changed? Is that slowly perception changed? You've got AJ McKee obviously fighting Patricio Pitbull in Bellator in the featherweight division this weekend as well. It seems like there's depth all over the world.
Yeah, no, listen, you're right, but UFC will always be the number one. Let's not get around that. They were the best in the beginning. They started the sport. You know, they are the number one organization in the world. But to say that Bubba Jenkins, Movlid, and myself, AJ McKee, Pitbull, we can all compete in the UFC. Listen, I fought in the UFC. I've got UFC gloves on my wall. They're never going anywhere. I fought on a UFC card. I was the first person from Manchester to ever do that. So, you know, that's going nowhere. Now, for me, it's about my own legacy, cementing my own thing. I want to be the first ever Mancunian born and bred world champion in MMA. And that was my next thing. That was the next thing that I wanted to do. So we're 2 fights away from that. So let's go.
You are. It's brilliant stuff. In terms, you just mentioned the UFC because you mentioned the money that you've been paid. Looking at the UFC card with Conor McGregor and Poirier, it was interesting. There's a huge gap, obviously, between the millions the headliners are paid and even the co-main event. Do you feel that there's a better financial situation for fighters sometimes outside of the UFC? Is that the reality?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into numbers, but if I would have got signed on that series, I mean, I don't want to give you a number what I'm making, but it's at least 10 times, mate.
Really?
10 times more, yeah, than what I would have got from that night. And that's not even an exaggeration. And it's like, you know, we can't look at the money side of things too much, but at the same time, when you pass the 30 mark, when you pass the 30 mark, you're not 21 chasing this dream anymore. And it's like, you know, these camps aren't cheap either. It's living in America for 6-7 months at a time. So yeah, I mean, the UFC will always carry the moniker, the number one. It will do. It has been the number one. But it just gives fighters like myself opportunities elsewhere now. PFL are on the same channel as the UFC. They're getting in great numbers now. They're giving out massive prizes. And they're doing a tournament format. You know, you don't fight every 6 weeks. It's not normal. The body's not made to do that.
No.
And it's very mentally challenging. It's very physically challenging. And the fact that I had to leave my family and friends for over a year to be able to make this happen, it just makes me double hungry. And I would like to challenge any fighter to go through this tournament and leave your family and friends and just try and make this happen, because it's not easy.
It's a special legacy, isn't it? When people look closer at the format, they'll realise that the champion, when it's all said and done, is a special human being.
Well, that's why you've got to respect Lance Palmer and Nathan Schultz, who won it 2 years in a row. I mean, I respect them guys because that's 10 fights in 2 years and they've won every one of them to get here. And yeah, it is when you think of it like that. I mean, in the UFC, if you have 3 a year, you're lucky. You're very lucky. Like, so to get 10 in 2 years, it's like, you made of steel, mate. Like, my body's feeling it. You know, I'm in the prime of my career. My body's feeling it. So to these guys that have done it 2 seasons back to back, respect to them.
Yeah, most of us struggle to get around the supermarket, let alone have 10 fights in 2 years. What's your take on Pitbull against AJ McKee then? How do you see that this coming weekend? McKee's been heralded, hasn't he, as the prototype modern MMA fighter, all-rounder.
Brilliant fighter. Brilliant fighter. Love to watch him fight. Beat a friend of mine, Darren Caldwell. I watched that fight. He's very well-rounded. He's the new era. He knows what he's doing. He knows his way around the cage, and he's against the old savvy dog in Pitbull, who's got that one-punch power, mate, who can just put anyone out at any time. So it's a great stylistic matchup. But I see the new breed coming through now. I see AJ taking it.
Can he lay claim to being one of the best featherweights in the world? Obviously, the PFL yet to be decided. How do you see Volkanovski and Ortega in the UFC? Could you claim the winner of this fight, Pitbull against McKee? Could that be number one?
I think the one championship, the PFL, the Bellator, and the one and the UFC could all compete together. All the champions in them weight divisions. I mean, they're not too far apart, really. I mean, if you look at AJ and you look at Volkanovski, who's to say that Volkanovski would steamroll AJ? We would never know, because they're never going to cross promote. But some fighters do look elsewhere now when the contract comes, and then they say, "Oh well, I can get this here and this there," and it's all about, do I want to kind of be famous and go down that road, or do I want to make money? And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the road that AJ's on as well. I'm sure. Well, he's about to win $1 million, isn't he? He's in the same boat. There's $1 million prize. So, you know.
What about your goals for the next 3 years after this? Could you mention that perhaps being your target? What do you think? Do you look beyond PFL next season, or are you just focused on this?
Yeah, I mean, I can never ever look past Movlid Khaybulaev. Movlid is a very dangerous fight for me. So that's in 5 weeks, 4 weeks on Friday. So that's all that's in my mind. And just another thing to let you sit with. When I started the PFL, my odds were crazy. They started me on the prelims. Then they pushed me up to the main card opener. And now I'm the main card and the main fight. So PFL are getting behind me. I love fighting for PFL. What a fantastic organisation. All the back staff, they don't get enough credit for what they're doing. They look after the fighters like you wouldn't believe. I'm incredibly happy with them. So it would take a lot to get me to move from PFL. It would take a lot.
You mentioned your age, in your early 30s now. What have you shifted mentally? Have you made a mental shift the last few years with that record to come to this point, do you think?
Yeah, I'm just hitting my prime. I'm hitting my prime in these fights. I just feel like the guys are moving slower, and I'm more in tune with myself. And I feel like all these years of hard work and the knocks that I've took along the way, and the disappointments with the split decisions, and they've made me bulletproof. They really have, and I've really come into my own now. And then when I get in the cage now, I just think there's not one style that I haven't faced and beat. I fought the D1 wrestlers. I fought the world-class strikers. I fought the black belts. So, like, once I see them now, I just think there's nothing you're going to show me in here now.
So you're confident?
Well, we could say that, yeah.
But you see yourself winning by stoppage in the semi, the end of August.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen his lights go out. I've seen the button be pressed. And, once I see the button be pressed, I know it can be pressed. And I know if it can be pressed, I will try to press it.
and then when's the final then? And how long do you have before the final? I presume you're staying out in the States for that.
Yeah, the final's the end of October. I think it's in Las Vegas. Nothing been confirmed. Let's hope we can get some English fans out here. I mean, all my mates are dying for it. So let's hope we start allowing people back in so we can make it happen.
Ricky Hatton style as a Mancunian. That would be the dream.
Not quite. There'll never be another Ricky Hatton, mate. But if we could get half of his fans, I'd be over the moon.
That'd be special. Well, Brendan, really appreciate your time as well. Good luck with the rest of the camp. It's been an impressive year so far. No doubt you give it 110%, and we'll keep across it, and we'll hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Top man.